Packers coming off a bye against the Broncos team that realistically could be 1-5. Hey, how are you, folks? Jason Horowitz and NFL.com's Pat Kirwan. Glad to be with you, breaking down the 5-1 Packers and what the Broncos actually are, and that's 3-3. But Pat, all three wins on game-winning field goals. Two they were lucky to win, the one in Buffalo and the one where they called the timeout on Sebastian Janikowski's kick, which he then missed the second kick. But, you know, the Broncos played well against the Steelers and well enough to win, obviously. What's your take on Denver right now?
I think Denver had a great emotional effort with their backs to the wall. They had lost their two previous home games. They were embarrassed by San Diego. They rallied around their young quarterback. He played very well, but they're missing weapons here. They don't have Javon Walker, their go-to receiver. They're missing their starting center, Tom Nalen. Now, Rod Smith's practicing again, but he's still on PUP, physically unable to perform. They could activate him. They're going to need some people on the field because the Cutler experience cannot continue without more weapons than he has, especially against a team like the Packers.
Well, let's get into Jay Cutler because now he's taken on a secondary that has got Charles Woodson. Rod Woodson's not coming out of retirement. No. And it's got Al Harris, and it's guys that jump routes and guys that play very good man-man coverage. What does Jay Cutler have here?
Well, what Jay Cutler's up against here is a matchup pair of corners that are going to take his receivers out by themselves and leave the safeties to stop the running game and jump the tight ends. They love to run that little bootleg pass. We saw they won the Scheffler. That was a key play in their final run to win the game last week. That's why they're safeties. That's why the Green Bay Packers are terrific against the run and play so physical because those corners can be left alone. And I don't see the threat in the Denver receivers that's going to stop that.
And Brandon Marshall, he's going to play, but eventually he may face a minor suspension with his arrest that he had earlier this week, which means you got Brandon Stokely and Glenn Martinez. So that's the Jay Cutler would be throwing to. All right, the other thing about the Broncos is they can't stop the run. We know that all season. It's been very bad trying to stop the run. But this game sets up perfectly for them because Green Bay doesn't run the football. 68% of the time they pass the ball, which is the most in the NFL. Any chance that McCarthy changes his plan here and runs it more?
Well, you'd be tempted to run the ball more, but when you go and look at how the Denver defense played last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are a darn good running football team, they rallied to the run. They were all around Willie Parker, and they didn't let Willie Parker beat them. So there's not a lot of encouragement off the most recent game tape that that's the way you should go. That being said, if you go back and look at the Packers' last two wins, they came out running the ball. Why? Because everybody was playing the pass exclusively, so they got some running opportunities. They'll do the same thing when they get on the road here. You need to be able to run the ball a little bit more on the road and not put your quarterback in a situation with a loud, screaming fan base.
Champ Bailey didn't play last week in the win against Pittsburgh. Is he healthy enough? We're taping this on Thursday. He's expected to, at this point, he's questionable, but if he's healthy at all, he's got to have a big difference.
From what I've been able to figure out, that he is going to play in this football game, and they're going to need him out there because Brett Favre, on the road, he's a better quarterback on the road than he is at home, and it's typical of older veterans. The road doesn't intimidate them anymore. This is a team that's 9-1 in their last 10 games, and on the road, these guys like to put up about 29 points a game. So can the Broncos put up 29 points? I don't think so.
And look for Donald Lee to have a big game as well because tight ends have done well against the Broncos this year. Let's throw all those numbers into a computer and everything, spit it out 10,000 times. It's the AccuScore prediction. Here's what it has for this game. Another toss-up here in Week 8. The Broncos over the Packers. Pat, who do you like?
I like the Green Bay Packers in this game, in a close game. I agree with the computer. It's going to be real close. How can you help but watch Denver last week against Pittsburgh, who I'd make a case Pittsburgh's a better team than Green Bay, but I think they can't play that emotionally high again. I like the Green Bay Packers coming off their bye with Brett Favre, who's throwing the ball like he was 25 years old.
It'll be tough as well because they may not be the most watched game on Monday night with the fact that the Colorado Rockies, depending on if there is a Game 5.
I'll make a point about that, too. Denver's a football town, and anyone who's from Denver watching this show knows that. I'll bet you that the football trumps the baseball.
No way. If it's Game 5 in Colorado, there will be more eyes on Coors Field than in Vesco. Brett Favre, he's played one game in Denver. It didn't go so well. It was a 31-10 loss, and he had 3 interceptions. That was back in 1999. It is the Monday Nighter. Game time subject to change depending on baseball. We'll see how that works. For everything else, stay with CBSSports.com and be sure to watch everything else on the CBS Audience Network. For Pat Kirwan, I'm Jason Horowitz. Take care.